For years, we were taught the same story. If you want protein, you eat meat. If that's not enough, you buy protein powder. So we argue about beef versus chicken, whey versus plant shakes, and spend more money every year trying to hit a number on a label. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The protein debate has been pointing in the wrong direction this whole time. Long before grocery stores, supplements, or fitness influencers existed, entire civilizations survived, worked, and built empires without protein powders and without daily meat. Warriors marched for days. Farmers worked sunup to sundown. Monks lived long, disciplined lives. Their strength did not come from tubs, bars, or steaks wrapped in plastic. It came from plants. This is the part that feels disturbing once you really think about it. While we've been told that plant protein is incomplete or not enough, there are plants on this earth that contain more protein per gram than most meats. Plants with amino acid profiles that rival eggs. Plants so efficient that ancient cultures treated them as sacred food, not alternatives, but foundations of survival. And yet, most of us were never taught their names. Instead, we were taught to fear deficiency, to believe that without meat at every meal, something would be missing. But what if the problem isn't lack of protein? What if it's lack of knowledge? In this video, you're going to see 20 plants that quietly challenge everything we think we know about protein. One of them, number 17, was so important to the Inca Empire that their emperor planted it himself each year because it contained all 9 essential amino acids. And number 20 is so protein-dense that a single cup provides more protein than a steak. This isn't about telling you what to eat. It's about showing you what was hidden. Because once you see where real protein has always come from, it becomes impossible to unsee it. This video is not here to tell you to stop eating meat, and it is not pushing an ideology. Meat has fed humans for thousands of years, and for many people, it still has a place. What this list does is something different. It shows you options most of us were never given. Protein does not have to be expensive. It does not have to come from a factory, and it does not have to be shipped across the world in plastic tubs. Many of the most powerful protein sources on Earth can be grown in soil, in water, or even in a jar on your kitchen counter. To understand this list, you need to understand protein density. It is not about how heavy a food is or how filling it feels. It is about how much usable protein you get per gram, along with the amino acids your body actually needs. Some plants perform shockingly well by that measure. This list is ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. We start with plants that already outperform many meats, and we end with plants so protein-dense they challenge the idea that animal products are the peak. By the end, you will see protein not as something to buy, but as something you can understand, choose, and even grow yourself. Protein before supermarkets. For most of human history, protein did not come from a store. There were no labels, no powders, and no debates about grams per serving. People met their protein needs through foods they grew, gathered, and prepared themselves. And somehow, they survived. Not just barely, but strongly. Farmers worked the land from sunrise to sunset. Builders raised cities stone by stone. Warriors marched long distances carrying heavy armor. Monks lived disciplined lives of labor and focus. These people were not weak. They were resilient, and their strength was fueled largely by plants. Grains, beans, seeds, and leaves formed the backbone of daily nutrition. Meat existed, but it was not constant or unlimited. In many cultures, it was rare, seasonal, or ceremonial. Protein came from combinations of foods that were understood through experience, not science. What worked was passed down, generation after generation. This is where something feels strange today. We are told we live in the most advanced nutritional age in history, yet confusion around protein has never been higher. Anxiety replaced confidence. Convenience replaced understanding. Older generations remember this shift. Meals were simpler, food was closer to the source, and somehow people felt grounded, nourished, and capable. We didn't always eat this way, and that truth matters. Because once you realize humans thrived long before modern protein marketing existed, it becomes easier to question what we were told and to listen again to what history already proved. Plants 1 through 5. Fast-growing, shockingly dense. 1. Duckweed, the pond protein factory. Duckweed might be the most misunderstood food on Earth. It floats quietly on ponds and slow-moving water, often dismissed as useless pond scum. But when dried, duckweed contains 40 to 45% protein, which is higher than most meats. That alone should stop you in your tracks. It grows faster than almost any plant known, doubling its mass in just 1 to 2 days under the right conditions. That speed matters because it means protein can be produced continuously with very little land or input. Duckweed contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein. It has been eaten for generations in parts of Southeast Asia, mixed into soups, omelets, and vegetable dishes. The taste is mild, slightly green, and easy to blend into food. What makes duckweed remarkable is not just its nutrition, but its efficiency. Protein that grows on water, renews itself almost daily, and asks very little in return, challenges everything we assume about how food should work. 2. Lupin, the Mediterranean protein bean. Lupin beans have fed Mediterranean civilizations for more than 3,000 years, yet most people have never tasted one. When dried, lupin beans contain 36 to 40% protein, placing them among the most protein-dense legumes on Earth. Ancient Romans ate them. Egyptian cultures valued them. Today, nutrition science is rediscovering why. Lupins grow on flowering plants that also improve soil by fixing nitrogen, making them beneficial to the land itself. Once prepared properly to remove their natural bitterness, the beans have a mild, nutty flavor. They can be eaten whole, ground into flour, or added to breads and pasta for extra protein. Unlike many modern protein foods, lupins were developed slowly through tradition, not processing. They represent a time when protein came from patience, preparation, and deep agricultural knowledge, rather than shortcuts. 3. Alfalfa, father of all foods. The name alfalfa comes from Arabic and means father of all foods. That is not exaggeration. Alfalfa leaves contain 35 to 40% protein when dried, and the sprouts are one of the easiest high-protein foods to grow at home. Ready in just a few days, alfalfa sprouts turn a handful of seeds into fresh nutrition without soil, sunlight, or land. What makes alfalfa unique is its root system. In the field, its roots reach deep into the soil, pulling up minerals other plants cannot access. That mineral richness transfers into the leaves. Alfalfa has been used for centuries as a strengthening tonic, especially during times of recovery or scarcity. It was overlooked for human diets largely because it was so valuable as animal feed. But strength does not change just because the eater does. Alfalfa quietly reminds us that some of the most powerful foods were always within reach. 4. Moringa, the miracle tree. Moringa is often called the miracle tree because it seems to do everything well. Its dried leaves contain 25 to 30% protein, including all essential amino acids. Fresh leaves still provide impressive protein, along with massive amounts of vitamins and minerals. In parts of Africa and Asia, moringa has been a survival food, preventing malnutrition where little else could grow. The tree grows fast, tolerates heat, and produces edible leaves, pods, and seeds. Young leaves can be cooked like spinach or dried into powder. The flavor is mild and slightly peppery. Moringa's power is balance. It does not rely on one nutrient. It delivers protein, minerals, and antioxidants together, the way food once did, before nutrients were isolated and sold separately. It is not a supplement. It is a complete system growing from a trunk. 5. Mung bean, the gentle protein. Mung beans have been cultivated in Asia for over 4,000 years, prized not just for protein, but for how easily the body accepts them. Dried mung beans contain about 24% protein, and when sprouted, they become even more digestible. The sprouting process unlocks enzymes and increases vitamin content, making the protein easier to use. Fresh mung bean sprouts are crisp, mild, and widely used in Asian cuisine. Cooked mung beans appear in soups, stews, and porridges designed to nourish without burdening digestion. This matters because protein is not just about numbers, it is about what your body can actually absorb. Mung beans earn their place by being both nourishing and gentle, a combination that modern diets often forget to value. If this is changing how you think about food, you're not alone. Most of us were never taught to look at protein this way. If you want to keep learning together and uncover foods that quietly outperform what we've been sold, consider subscribing. Not to follow a trend, but to rebuild understanding, one plant at a time. Plants 6 through 10, ancient strength builders. 6. Fava bean, the builder's bean. Fava beans, also called broad beans, fueled hard labor long before modern protein charts existed. Dried fava beans contain about 26% protein, while fresh beans still provide strong protein with fiber and minerals. Ancient Egyptians fed them to workers building monuments. Roman soldiers ate them for strength and endurance. That history matters. Fava beans grow well in cool seasons when many crops struggle. They also improve soil by fixing nitrogen, helping future plants grow stronger. Traditional dishes like Middle Eastern full madames show how filling and sustaining favas are. They release energy slowly, which is why people could work long hours without constant hunger. Fava beans remind us that protein was once designed for work, not marketing. 7. Amaranth, the Aztec superfood. Amaranth was so important to the Aztec Empire that it was considered sacred. The grain contains 14 to 18% protein, but what makes it special is quality. Amaranth is rich in lysine, an amino acid missing in many grains. That makes its protein more complete. Both the grain and the leaves are edible. The leaves cook like spinach, while the tiny seeds can be boiled like rice, popped, or ground into flour. Amaranth thrives in heat and poor soil, where other crops fail. It survived bans and suppression because people understood its value. Amaranth proves that strength foods often survive history quietly, waiting to be rediscovered. Number 8. Flaxseed, the omega-3 protein. Flax seeds contain about 18 to 20% protein, but protein is only part of the story. Flax is also the richest plant source of omega-3 fatty acids. This combination supported heart health long before modern medicine named it. Ancient cultures used flax for both food and clothing. When ground, flax becomes easy to digest and deeply nourishing. It can be added to porridge, bread, or smoothies. Flax shows that ancient diets didn't separate protein from health. They came together naturally in a single seed. Number 9. Sesame seed, the mineral-rich protein. Sesame seeds contain around 20% protein and are rich in calcium, iron, and healthy fats. For people who avoided dairy long before alternatives existed, sesame was a solution. From tahini to halva, sesame has nourished civilizations across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Its protein works best alongside grains and legumes, creating balance without calculation. Sesame teaches us that protein was once part of harmony, not obsession. Number 10. Sunflower seed, the native strength food. Sunflower seeds contain about 21% protein and were cultivated by Native American tribes for thousands of years. They provided energy, healthy fats, and minerals in a compact form. Easy to grow and generous in yield, sunflowers produce hundreds of seeds per plant. Their protein is steady, reliable, and allergy-friendly. Sunflower seeds remind us that strength often comes from what grows closest to home, not from what travels the farthest. Why we forgot plant protein. Plant protein didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because the food system changed. Industrial food was built for speed, scale, and profit, not understanding. Crops that could be processed, branded, and shipped easily were promoted. Foods that required knowledge, preparation, or tradition were pushed aside. Marketing replaced nutrition. Instead of teaching people how protein actually works, labels did the talking. Bright tubs promised strength. Bars promised convenience. The message was simple and powerful. Real protein comes from factories now. Whole foods were quietly downgraded to alternatives. Protein powders didn't rise because plants failed. They rose because whole foods don't fit into a subscription model. You can't patent a bean. You can't brand a leaf the same way you brand a scoop. So the solution became separation. Protein over here, fiber somewhere else. Minerals sold separately. What once came together in a single plant was broken apart and sold back in pieces. This is the part that hurts a little. We didn't lose nutrition, we outsourced it. And when you outsource understanding, you also outsource confidence. People stopped trusting food and started trusting packaging. Relearning plant protein isn't about going backward. It's about reclaiming knowledge that never should have been taken away in the first place. Plants 11 through 15. The everyday superfoods we underestimate. 11. Hemp seed, the complete protein comeback. Hemp seeds are one of the most complete plant foods on Earth, yet they were forgotten for decades. When shelled, hemp seeds contain about 30 to 32% protein, and that protein includes all 9 essential amino acids. That makes hemp a true complete protein, something very few plants can claim. What makes hemp special is how easily the body uses it. Hemp protein is highly digestible and naturally balanced with healthy fats, including omega-3 and omega-6 in an ideal ratio. A few spoonfuls added to yogurt, oatmeal, or smoothies can quietly deliver serious nutrition. Hemp seeds are mild, slightly nutty, and require no cooking. For centuries, hemp fed civilizations before laws and fear erased it from kitchens. Today, it's returning, not as a trend, but as a correction. Hemp shows that sometimes nutrition didn't disappear because it was weak, but because it was misunderstood. 12. Lentils, the 13,000-year protein staple. Lentils have fed humanity for over 13,000 years, and they're still doing the job quietly and well. Dried lentils contain about 25 to 26% protein, and a single cooked cup provides roughly 18 grams of protein. They cook quickly, store easily, and don't require soaking like many beans. Lentils are rich in fiber, iron, folate, and minerals that support steady energy. This is why lentils became a staple across the Middle East, India, and the Mediterranean. They filled stomachs without draining resources. Lentils were never flashy. They were dependable. and that's exactly why they endured. When people call lentils poor food, they misunderstand something important. Foods that feed billions for thousands of years aren't poor, they're perfected. 13. Chickpeas, the versatile protein anchor. Chickpeas have been cultivated for more than 7,000 years, and their popularity never truly faded. Dried chickpeas contain around 20% protein, with a cooked cup delivering about 15 grams. What makes chickpeas powerful is flexibility. They can be whole, mashed, ground into flour, roasted, or blended. From hummus to falafel to stews and flatbreads, chickpeas adapt to nearly any cuisine. Their protein pairs naturally with fiber, creating meals that satisfy without heaviness. Chickpeas also offer something modern diets struggle with: balance. They don't spike energy and crash it, they sustain. Chickpeas prove that protein doesn't need to be extreme to be effective. Sometimes the strongest foods are the ones that simply work, meal after meal, generation after generation. 14. Black beans, the New World protein gift. Black beans are native to the Americas and were cultivated long before modern agriculture existed. Dried black beans contain about 21 to 22% protein, along with exceptional fiber and antioxidant content. A bowl of black beans and rice creates a complete protein without calculation or supplements. Indigenous cultures understood this intuitively. That combination fueled labor, travel, and survival. Modern science later confirmed what tradition already knew. Black beans digest slowly, support blood sugar balance, and keep hunger steady. They are affordable, filling, and deeply nourishing. Their dark color signals high antioxidant levels, something meat simply does not offer. Black beans remind us that protein once came with protection, not just calories. 15. Pumpkin seeds, the hidden power inside the shell. Pumpkin seeds are often discarded, yet they are one of the most protein-dense seeds available. They contain around 30% protein, with a small handful delivering significant nutrition. They are also rich in zinc, magnesium, and iron, minerals critical for immunity, muscle function, and energy. Pumpkin seeds were valued by indigenous peoples who understood the importance of seeds long before nutrition labels existed. Roasted, ground, or blended into sauces, pumpkin seeds are versatile and deeply satisfying. They represent a simple truth. Sometimes the most powerful foods are hidden inside what we already grow. Protein didn't need to be invented. It was sitting inside the pumpkin all along. Plants 16 to 19, complete and civilizational proteins. 16. Oats, the northern strength food. Oats built strong bodies in cold, harsh climates where little else would grow. Whole oats contain about 13 to 15% protein, and that protein is supported by something even more important: structure. Oats digest slowly, releasing energy over hours instead of minutes. That is why generations of farmers and laborers relied on them to get through long days. Oats are rich in a special fiber called beta-glucan, which supports heart health and keeps blood sugar steady. This matters because protein is not useful if energy crashes follow. Oats provide stability. They were never meant to be flashy. They were meant to last. From Scottish porridge to simple oat bread, oats fed people when meat was scarce and winters were long. Even today, oats remain one of the most reliable, affordable protein grains available. They remind us that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and dependable. 17. Quinoa, the sacred food of the Incas. Quinoa was so important to the Inca Empire that it was considered sacred. Each year, the emperor himself planted the first seeds. That alone tells you something. Quinoa contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein, a rare quality in the plant world. One cooked cup provides about 8 grams of high-quality protein, along with magnesium, iron, and B vitamins. Quinoa thrives in harsh mountain conditions where other crops fail. It fed entire civilizations at high altitude without animals. For thousands of years, quinoa sustained builders, messengers, and warriors of the Andes. It nearly disappeared when colonial crops replaced it. Only recently has the world rediscovered what the Incas always knew. Quinoa is not a trend. It is a survival food perfected by time. 18. Peas, the humble garden hero. Peas have been feeding humans for over 10,000 years, quietly doing their job. Dried split peas contain around 25% protein, while fresh green peas still deliver meaningful protein with excellent digestibility. Peas are gentle on the stomach, which is why split pea soup became a comfort food across Europe. They provide protein without heaviness, energy without strain. Modern food companies now extract pea protein for powders and meat alternatives, but the original form still works just as well. Peas grow easily, improve soil, and store well. They are not exotic, and that is their strength. Peas show us that protein doesn't need drama. It needs reliability. And for thousands of years, peas have delivered exactly that. 19. Whole wheat, the grain that built civilization. Wheat is not just food, it is history. Whole wheat contains about 13 to 15% protein, along with fiber, minerals, and B vitamins. More importantly, wheat made storage possible. It allowed humans to settle, plan, and build. Bread existed because of wheat's unique protein structure. Entire cultures formed around it. From Middle Eastern flatbreads to European loaves, wheat fed civilizations through peace and war. Whole wheat differs from refined flour. The protein is intact. The fiber remains. The grain works as a complete food, not an empty filler. While some people must avoid gluten, for those who tolerate it, whole wheat remains one of the most sustaining foods ever cultivated. Wheat shows us the final lesson before the peak. Protein is not just about muscles, it is about continuity. And wheat carried humanity forward for 10,000 years. Plant 20, the protein king. And here we are, the final plant on the list, saved for last for a reason, the soybean. When dried, soybeans contain about 36 to 40% protein, making them the highest protein legume on Earth. One cooked cup provides around 29 grams of complete protein. For comparison, a similar amount of cooked beef delivers about 26 grams. No drama, no exaggeration, just numbers. What makes soybeans different from almost every other plant is this: they contain all 9 essential amino acids in usable proportions. That makes soy a complete protein, a status shared by very few plant foods. This is not a modern discovery. Soybeans have fed East Asian civilizations for over 5,000 years. They were considered one of the 5 sacred crops because they sustained people through famine, labor, and long lives. Traditional cultures didn't eat soy in isolation. They transformed it. Tofu, tempeh, miso, fermented beans. Each method improved digestion, absorption, and balance. Protein came packaged with wisdom, not marketing. This is the moment the myth finally breaks. You were told meat was the peak. History quietly says otherwise. Soybeans don't replace choice, they replace ignorance. And that is the real payoff for staying to the end. You were never protein deficient. Here is the truth that settles everything. Humans were never protein deficient. We were information deficient. For thousands of years, people met their protein needs without labels, powders, or fear. They combined foods, they respected seasons, they trusted what worked. Then food became industrial, nutrition became fragmented, and confidence disappeared. This is not about rejecting meat. It is not about choosing sides. It is about freedom. The freedom to know that protein is not rare, fragile, or locked behind a price tag. It grows, it stores, it renews itself. When you understand protein instead of fearing it, something changes. You stop chasing numbers. You stop outsourcing nourishment. You start seeing food as partnership, not dependency. You were never missing protein. You were missing the full picture. And once you see it, once you truly understand where strength has always come from, you don't need to argue about diets anymore. You simply choose, calmly, confidently, and informed. Rethinking what feeds you. If you step back for a moment, something becomes very clear. Strength never belonged to one food. It never belonged to one culture. And it was never owned by a single industry. Strength came from understanding what feeds you, season after season, generation after generation. The plants you saw in this video are not new discoveries. They are old companions. They fed farmers who worked from sunrise to sunset. They sustained monks who lived simply. They supported builders, travelers, and families long before nutrition labels told anyone what to think. Somewhere along the way, we stopped listening to that quiet wisdom and started outsourcing our trust. This is not about changing everything overnight. It is about changing how you see food. When you understand that protein exists in abundance, that it grows, stores, and renews itself, something softens. Fear fades. Pressure disappears. Eating becomes less about chasing numbers and more about choosing nourishment with confidence. If this video helped reconnect a few dots for you, consider subscribing. Not because you need another channel, but because we're learning together. This is a place for curiosity, not extremes. For understanding, not arguments. For people who want food to make sense again. I genuinely love to hear from you. Which plant surprised you the most? And which one would you try first, even just out of curiosity? Read the comments too. You'll find people at different stages of the same journey, all asking better questions than they were taught to ask before. Food doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes the most important changes are quiet ones. Thanks for staying until the end, and take care of what feeds you.